Thank you for that very kind introduction, David. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. It is great to be here. I'm just going to move this. I don't think we're going to need that this morning. In fact, without the brilliance of the people here and the years of dedication to proving the effectiveness of marketing, I wouldn't be. Our industry wouldn't actually exist. Commercial creativity only matters because it delivers real business results. But we're at an interesting crossroads right now, because as an industry, we are choosing to be less effective than we know we can be. I can't actually think of any other industry where the practitioners knowingly act to be less good at what they do. And as the president of the IPA, I find it particularly hard to rationalise, given the years of dedication to show that advertising really works and that we're getting better all the time at showing it, creating it, and proving it. Except now we're not. We are getting worse. In this room and throughout this week, the reasons why we're becoming less effective will be discussed, debated, and I hope resolved. But in my view, the overriding cause is the growth in digital marketing and our reliance on machines to buy it for us. Digital marketing is the big thing that every CMO wants to be seen to be leading on. They all want to be digital first or mobile first. And as a result, advertising channels that we know work are being replaced by those we know far less about. As every media planner in the room knows, needs to be digitally led and full of online activation and integration. And why is digital so popular? Because it's great at delivering immediate numbers and quantifiable proof of short-term effects. And with client tenures getting shorter and shorter, many understandably opt for a short uplift today rather than a bigger effect in the future. And we're all guilty of helping them to do this, despite knowing it doesn't work as well. As we've heard many times before, Les Binet and Peter Field have proved repeatedly the power of a marketing mix that sees 60% of budgets go on brand building and 40% on tactical. But today, our industry is ignoring this, and we're dosing ourselves up on digital marketing that's driving a switch in these percentages. So, what do I want to do about it? Well, I want events like this, like EffWeek, to give clients and agencies pause for thought, to reflect on doing what's right for their businesses, not on how to most cost-effectively deliver the next quarter's numbers. And you probably expect me to say that I want to rely less on the machines and digital marketing. But actually, no. I want machines to be more involved, a lot more. Far from being a Luddite hankering after times that have passed, I'm pining for us to get to the future faster, because that's where a more effective new world lies. Now, every IPA president sets their agenda for the next 2 years for the advertising industry, and I'm honoured to have been elected at the start of the IPA's second century, so I've set myself a longer time horizon than normal. My agenda is the magic and the machines, and it reflects the fact that automation and machine learning will play an ever more important part in the next 100 years of our industry. And I firmly believe that technology will soon create a new era of highly creative and powerfully effective brand building tools that will capture both the public's imagination and the boardroom's enthusiasm. I can't wait to see the likes of virtual reality and augmented reality in the hands of the very best storytellers in our industry. We know already from the work between the IPA Databank and the Gunn Report the pure power of creativity to deliver results. Better creative equals better effectiveness. So just imagine how effective the immersive potential of both AR and VR will be. And they'll bring data sources far beyond those we have today, giving us true readings of emotions, engagement, active consideration, and likely commercial outcomes. We'll be awash, literally awash, with new, personal and real-time data sources. And the machines will help us make sense of that too. Someone told me recently that the best data to collect is all of it, because AI will change our power to analyse it, throwing up new and surprising consumer insights and fantastically robust models of how marketing can work. Put simply, the machines will help us make brand marketing so much more powerful and its effects so much more provable. Of course, there's still a way to go on ensuring that the data we have is true and robust. And as you know, the IPA has ruffled quite a few feathers recently by challenging the tech giants to be more transparent with their numbers. But we mustn't let this bump in the road today curb our enthusiasm for the potential of tomorrow. And we're starting to see that potential come to life in our industry right now. Only very recently, I treated the IPA Council to an encounter with IBM Watson, and we explored together how this learning machine could answer questions to a verbal brief in a matter of seconds by analysing data that it would take humans weeks to complete. But it's not just the IBMs of this world that are leading the way. Across our own industry, agencies and marketeers are experimenting themselves with amazing results. As you know, today marks the launch of the 2018 IPA Effectiveness Awards, and I'm delighted to announce my new President's Prize for the most effective demonstration of tech-led data. I'm really looking forward to see the winner of that next year, but sticking to this year and the next 20 minutes before you all go and eat, I'd like to whet your appetite with some more of the amazing experiments I've already come across in my quest to get to grips with this new reality. And I've got a brilliant panel from different creative disciplines to help me do so. So, first up, Google. Who better than Google to talk about the application of AI to creativity? Please welcome Freya Murray, Creative Lead of the Google Arts and Culture Lab. Second, a startup called Intelligent Layer, led by an AI whiz kid with a PhD in AI from Oxford University, who has created the first beer brewed by AI. Please welcome founder and CEO, Dr. Rob McInerney. Next, RGA, soon to be in IPA membership, I hope, no pressure. RGA claims to be taking the lead in the use of disruptive technology for its clients. Please welcome Associate Creative Director Adam Collins. And finally, The Mill, a post-production house with a real thirst for innovation. Please welcome the Creative Director of their Innovation Lab, Carl Addy. Come on, Carl. So, welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. You're going to make my section much more interesting than if it was just me standing at the lectern. I have asked each of my panellists to bring with them today for you a case example of some of the current work they're doing with AI, VR, or AR to enthuse and excite you over the next 20 minutes, but also to show you how the use of this new technology is expanding the opportunity for all of us to increase our magic powers, if you like, for the brands and businesses that we work on. So, Freya, if I can turn to you first. Nicely, you almost sat on my knee. Can you talk to us about how you're using AI and machine learning algorithms in your artwork experimentation at Google?
Yeah. So, I'm part of the team at the Google Arts and Culture Lab, which is based in Paris. And at the lab, we ask what's next and what are the new tools for the cultural sector, and how can we craft new experiences between art and technology that will drive innovation within the cultural sector. So we bring together Google engineers with artists, curators, creative coders, technologists, and cultural organisations to explore many of these different new technologies that are out there. And one of the areas that we're interested in is, and really curious about, is machine learning. And we have been exploring and experimenting with machine learning for a while. So last year we've had some creative coders in residence at the lab, Mario Klingerman and Cyril Diagni, who have been together with our engineers.
You have to have a cool name to work at Google.
Apparently so. But one of the things we've been asking is, so on Google, I don't know if many of you know about Google Arts and Culture, but Google Arts and Culture is an app that we have, and we've got 1,600 plus arts organisations in, I think it's over like 70 countries, who are partners, and we digitise a lot of their content on the platform. And with huge amounts of content online on Google Arts and Culture, for example, but also when you go to museums, you'll often see, you only see a tiny percentage of all of their collections. So we tasked some of our artists in residence with kind of looking at how can we apply machine learning to help us navigate large amounts of artworks. And so I've got so one of the things, just to say before I show the video, where they will explain more eloquently than me their experiments, is it always starts with a question. And so one of Mario's questions was, we say that everyone's connected by 6 degrees. We all know the famous 6 degrees of separation. And so he created the experiment called X degrees of separation, which looks at the connections between artworks and how we can apply visual similarity algorithms to explore this. And he'll talk about this in a moment. And then Cyril was asking, we all know about, we've all seen landscapes in art, but what about a landscape of art, and how could we explore that? So we'll show that.
Artists, museums, cultural institutions have always been inspired by technology, and tech companies have always been inspired by art and culture. Google Arts and Culture is a platform whose first mission is to help cultural institutions to share their collection and to reach new audiences. The lab is a place for research and development. We are working on some emerging technologies and how they can be useful for art and culture online. It's the case for virtual reality, for example. It's the case also for machine learning.
Machine learning enables us to find patterns in complex data that hopefully open up new pathways to explore it.
Machine learning is incredibly valuable because it brings these unexpected ways to look at the content, to make it available, to connect the audience to the content, or to even help museums to organize and analyze their content. The machine learning experiments were created here at the lab by creative coders and artists.
X degrees of separation tries to answer the question, what is the connection between any two artworks? You just asked it, what is the path between Starry Night and some 5,000-year-old clay sculpture? And it actually finds a connection which is usually surprising, interesting, and opens up this chance for discovery.
Tags uses a neural network that automatically applies text labels to image pixels.
It uses picture recognition to sort artworks by keywords. So you can search for something that is within a picture in a novel way.
It can suggest artworks that it thinks are calm or sad. It brings a new way to browse cultural heritage. The way TSNE map works is that all the artworks are organized in this map by visual similarity alone.
It's a 3D landscape where you can navigate in a world made of artworks. So it's a way to visualize artworks that look similar, to discover maybe new connection between these artworks.
As an artist, I'm fascinated by the fact that something I thought impossible 1 year ago is now quite easy to do.
We are just at the beginning. There will be much more to come.
We see artists getting extremely excited. We are extremely excited. We'll see what happens, but it's a great moment for art and technology.
So, how else are you using AI in your work with artists at Google?
So we work with, so there you saw some of our kind of creative technologists in residence at the lab, but we also work with artists, so from choreographers to recently we did a project with the stage designer Ez Devlin, who creates set designs for kind of the biggest pop stars on the planet. And what was really interesting is she was interested in how you could create, whether an algorithm could help a disparate set of words form a cumulative poem. And she had this vision for a project that was in collaboration with Serpentine Galleries. Right. And it was looking at how we could apply machine learning. And the experiment she saw there used machine learning as a tool. And I think it's also really interesting how artists, where technology isn't kind of the core part of their work, use machine learning as a collaborator.
Yeah.
And with the project we did with her poem portraits, just as an example, we had, people went in and they were asked to donate a word into this installation. And as they donated a word, an algorithm trained on 35 million words from 19th century poetry, then within 2 seconds, generated this 2-line poem that took your word and somebody else's word, and it kind of illuminated your face. And it was a play on all our obsession with taking photos of ourselves.
But I've got a question for you. Was it any good? Because we all know, we've all seen that, the song, so Sony carried out an experiment with some kind of AI technology, and they wrote a song called Daddy's Car, and the lyrics to that song are awful. I mean, even a school band, a 7-year-old school band could write better lyrics. So were these poems any better than that? Or
so what's interesting is, I guess, the context of it. So what we weren't trying to do is create a great poem. That wasn't the aim of it. But what was interesting, actually, is how the poem, in terms of the structure of it, and the parallels with the structure of 19th century poetry was really interesting, and how you could track so the second word in every one was a word that had been donated, that you had donated yourself, and how you could track those through. So I think if we were trying to create, match some of the great poets that we have, then no, you're absolutely right. But that isn't what we were trying to do. It was more about, and this is why it was like that collaboration rather than machine learning being the creator.
Yeah, it's
and
magic
I think,
and the machines.
Yeah.
Man and machine.
Yeah, and I think it's how the two work together that's really interesting. And how different artists are also starting, that I'm working with, to look at it in terms of how it helps them understand their creative process. So I think it's interesting in that context as well.
Thank you, Freya. Right, let's get on to this beer that has been created by AI.
Yeah, sure thing.
What does that taste like?
Well, I think we should start by watching a video.
Okay.
A bit easier.
We've come together to create Intelligent X, which is the world's first beer that's been brewed by artificial intelligence.
AI is about making decisions, and when you're brewing beer, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. At Intelligent X, we take all the choices, the ingredients, the methods, and so on, and put that in a data structure that the AI understands. We can't make millions of beers, so we start by working closely with the brewer to encode their intuition into our algorithm. That gives us a great place to start from. And once our beer's out in the world, our AI, Abby, can have a conversation with all our customers, and that gives us the feedback that allows our beer to evolve.
There's a craft brewing revolution happening across the world right now. People's tastes are changing faster than ever before as a result, and AI is the perfect way to respond.
In this situation, we have a lot of uncertainty. There's almost endless different beers we could be making, so we use a combination of reinforcement learning and Bayesian decision making to try and deal with that. The point is, we're putting expert human brewers and all our customers in the same room, and this leads to creativity structured by data that allows us to evolve our beer generation after generation. The feedback process is really simple. You can talk to the algorithm whenever or wherever you're drinking the beer.
We've had incredible response to our AI beer prototypes, and now we're ready to get the final product out into the wild. So check out our website to find out more about Intelligent X, the world's first beer brewed by artificial intelligence.
Cool, so what we've created is a product that self-evolves based on getting feedback from customers. And the more feedback that it gets, the more it learns and the better it gets at improving itself. To break down the experience, what happens is people come and order beer on our platform. Once they've drunk the beer, they can follow a URL on the bottle, and the algorithms will start asking them questions, asking what changes they'd like to see, what improvements they'd like to make in the recipe, and then the algorithms go off and come up with a new iteration of the product. And the algorithms are there to do, the AI, if you like, is there to do two things. One, it's there to decide what changes to make in the product, but it's also there to determine which questions to ask to people, how to engage with people, and to better understand really what they're saying and what feedback they're giving. The outcome is that we end up making better personalised beer that's much more tailored to the people drinking it. And the other thing is we talk about the IKEA effect, so this idea that people are much more associated with the product that we've created. They've co-created it, and therefore are much more interested in consuming it. I mean, forget about the AI side of things. For us, that's really just a mechanism to make this happen and officiate this conversation between consumers and brand. What it really comes down to is engagement.
Yeah.
And many brands really struggle to understand who they're selling to and why people want to buy the things they're buying. You go to the supermarket, all those products. It's the retailer that owns the brand relationship. Go to a bar, it's the retailer that owns that consumer relationship. And so all we're doing is using AI to have an open dialogue with our consumers, and we can have this ongoing conversation with people. And the reason we can do that is because we're putting the consumer right at the center of the value chain. We're building this business around them, and so they want to have this dialogue with what we hope is one of their favorite brands. The reason we did this, my co-founder and I, we're both consumers, and we're seeing the fact that most new product innovations at the moment are failing. 75% of new product innovations, I think, is the stat. And so to compensate for that, we're spending huge amounts of money on very targeted advertising, using data to target adverts for products that may not work. Our view is that we can use AI to bring together all this expertise in marketing together with product innovation and put the consumer at the very center of this. And our business is really built around understanding who our consumers are, understanding what they want, and really just giving it to them.
And do you think you've got that balance right between, longer term brand building and short term digital sale?
I mean, our product is entirely built on a long-term strategy.
Right.
When people first come in machine learning and AI, there's a problem called the cold start problem, which is how do you first understand what someone wants when you have limited amounts of information. We attempt to solve that, but it's with this idea that they're going to have a long-term relationship with us, and the longer that they interact with us, the better the product's going to be for them.
The better the brand experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Right, Adam. So you've been using VR at RGA to enhance, not that I ever thought it needed enhancing, the Guinness drinking experience.
Yeah, well, I suppose what we do at RGA and historically, work a lot with technology and innovation and design systems essentially. And what we've been doing more and more is, marrying up that with storytelling and great storytelling. And when we started working with Guinness, we started having the conversation with them about, how we can sort of enhance and be clever with beer, and how can we give people experiences that they've not had before, because Guinness are, an amazing brand who have, are a very innovative brand. And so, there was a few conversations going on, and one was a VR experience at the Open Gate in Ireland, where you could actually put the headset on and sort of have an experience. But actually we thought, you can kind of do that by going there, and we can do more with this technology, and be more innovative and more meaningful, actually. And so what we decided was to work with Professor Charles Spence, who's actually the guy behind all of Heston's work, to bring to life all of the different flavor profiles of the variety of beers, not just sort of Guinness draft, but the different beers that they have, to really bring those to life in a new and fascinating way that they've never done before. And that's why VR was integral to that and very specific. I think the best thing to do is to get you up and take you through the experience. And then what we'll do,
Of course.
is hopefully what I've done is created a film so you guys can see what she's experiencing. It's not in real time. Would you like to pop that on? Maybe I should have put this on first. I'm going to scare you now. So what we did It's always the best idea to do live demos. Now you tell me, Sarah, when you are...
I feel like I'm having an eye test.
Watch your hand a second.
I can see 2 circles.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Oh. Oh!
I shall do it, and then that's going to be easier.
That's a relief. Am I let off the hook then?
No.
Oh.
I just obviously wasn't the person doing the demos. There we go. Yes, there we go. Wonderful.
Okay.
Now you can put that on.
Okay.
Left to right. Are you seeing it?
Yep.
Is it playing?
It says tap to play. I'm in.
If we can play the video now, that would be great.
Welcome to the Guinness Open Gate Brewery, home of beer experimentation for over 100 years. Anything we dream up, we get to brew up.
So what we did, essentially, was work with the head brewer at Guinness and work with Charles Spence to break down all the flavour profiles of the beer, and when you actually will taste those as well. So then we worked with Tesco's to do an in-store experience, because we thought that would be the best place, to get people at the heart of, where they can sort of buy these drinks.
It says I have to take a sip.
Oh, yeah.
Now take a sip and swirl the beer in your mouth for a few seconds before you swallow it.
What is in here? Yes, I did like that.
And obviously you're only seeing a very small part, whereas the experience...
What is this? Is this water?
Now go ahead.
Listen to the instructions, Sarah.
So you're ready to experience the next beer, and it's one of the world's most famous.
There we
It's
go.
our classic Guinness Draft.
How do I do that?
So cover the cup with your hand again and give it a swirl. Then lift it to your nose and inhale. Now take a sip and swirl the beer in your mouth for a few seconds before you swallow.
I like that one. A little bit of water.
Before we
Thank
try
you.
our last beer, please take another sip of water. You've tried 2 stout beers with dark roasted flavours. Let's try something different. A lager I created, full of character and flavour, called Hop House 13. There's some in your cup now, so cover the cup with your hand again and give it a swirl. Then lift it to your nose and inhale. Now take a sip and swirl the beer in your mouth for a few seconds before you swallow it.
I feel like I'm having some kind of weird trip.
You've tried 3 of our favourite beers and experienced 3 different sets of flavour. I hope you liked them as much as we love brewing them, and you're welcome at the open gate anytime. Thanks.
Is it meant to make you feel really pissed? Because
That is definitely not the
succeeded.
intention. Maybe it's the early consumption of alcohol, which wasn't recommended. But no, so I'll sit back down. That's probably the best. So yeah, so I think what we managed to achieve was to use every sense, and we worked with the best in, the guys who created the experience themselves, to the binaural sound design, to really make use of every single sense that you have to give you a flavour experience with beer that you could never have got in any other way. Delivered, in-store, working with their in-store agency to do it, at point of sale when people are going
they
through.
all did taste really different, and I'm sure if I didn't have that headset on, they would all, to me, probably taste the same.
Yeah.
So,
I'd hope not. We had someone in from Diageo earlier. I'm sure they don't taste all the
sorry,
same.
Sorry, Diego.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, Adam. Right, finally, Carl, I know that at the mill, because we work with you a lot, as do I'm sure a lot of people in the room, you kind of are constantly experimenting with the whole new tech kit and caboodle, and you've got a gazillion case studies. But can you just talk to us about one case study where you're using AR and VR for real-time feedback?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting case study because I think it's quite ahead of the curve, and it's driven largely by the gaming industry. So I don't know if anybody knows, but normally all the kind of magical stuff that you see in movies rendered takes ages to render. To get the computing power that it takes to make beautiful things out of nothing is quite limiting, hence it's not as common and everyday as we'd like it to be. But the gaming industry, what they've managed to do is, because their games are all spontaneous and live and you make decisions and you have agency and things change, the rendering capability has gotten really good to the point where the type of cinematic rendering that you would get in films, you can now get in real time. And what that really means is that we will very soon be able to interact spontaneously with narratives and stories that still are very beautiful and amazing as filmic stuff is, but in real time. And so the thing that we're going to show is kind of a collision of a few pieces of technology. And I think what's really interesting about that, and for us, is that in the past, it felt very much like things were channel-based. So you would work within stuff for digital, or for TV, or for live events, things like that. And I think that the challenge to modern-day creators and marketers and strategists is that it's a palette. All the different technologies can work together. There's no fixed anything. So it's about being flexible enough to work within all of those. And what's happening in this film, which we'll show, is that it was essentially a stunt created in collaboration between a brand, ourselves, and a gaming brand. So Epic, Chevrolet, and The Mill. Epic create Unreal. They make Unreal, which is the software which does real-time rendering, and Chevrolet sell cars. What the stunt really was is also it uses one of our pieces of hardware, which is a car. We've built a car called the Blackbird, which is there to... It's basically was created because sometimes you don't have the latest version of the car on a shoot, so we've created a car that could be any car through CG rendered stuff, and then it captures the holiday at the same time. But I'm not going to get into that too deep, but just because this is and again, the other thing I love about the age that we live in is that a complex narrative just means more stories. So there's so much going on here. So essentially what at its basic level, if you had to translate this into a lesson for the future, this means that we can watch movies, films, and we can change things within those movies live in real time. So not pre-recorded stuff that you choose through, but you can change things and adapt products, change products in front of you as your bespoke decision. So yeah, we take a look at the film, and I'll try and explain it as we go along.
We got a problem with the film?
Yeah.
Can you describe it? Can you dance it?
Oh wow, this is the tricky one. Is it not working at all, or? Aha.
Here it comes. Yeah.
All right, saved. Okay, so it was done. It was created for an event, which is the Gaming Developers Conference, which is essentially the keynote kind of moment within all gaming. Good. It's playing down here. Okay, that's great. So it's a live beamed out event. So that's the Blackbird car there, and what you're seeing there is a augmented reality car placed on top of it, so that you see in a camera or in any screen device. So that's essentially the software rendering live and in real time. And the reason why we did it at the gaming conference, because we had to prove that this isn't pre-recorded. So it was all set up as a live presentation. We essentially made a film of two cars in a car chase, that using things like that, which is the camera tracking technology in Cyclops, which we have, and the Blackbird car, which is that there. So we filmed the Blackbird car for real. Like I said, the Blackbird car is a device that allows you to swap out CG cars in post. But now with real-time rendering, you can do that in front of your eyes. So we created a film that is a car chase that has no real cars in it, which an audience will watch live and be able to change the cars themselves live. So that's just talking a little bit about some of the software and hardware involved in tracking that car and how directors work with that. This was the film itself that we made that was played live for the very first time at that event. And any one of those cars are things that weren't filmed and also weren't done in post and pre-recorded. So this is someone on a phone just swapping out cars in front of them. And that's a configurator there as well that the audience even tested straight afterwards. So anybody in the audience could then change out the cars. So what this means really is pure interaction, real live interaction. And again, what I was saying about the complex narrative of it, what I really like about this is that although it was essentially a stunt to prove software with a car manufacturer, even in itself, that story became a meme. It became a viral message. So it got large coverage thereafter. This, what you're seeing here, is another development of the same software, which is called Pop Llama. And that's a puppeteering tool. So you don't see anything in camera, but then you have an animated toy which pretty much animates to different songs. Using Leap Motion, you can hand puppeteer what that toy is doing in front of the camera. So again, if you think of the brand implications of that, playing with a cartoon in front of a pad on a box, I mean, those things are incredible. What we're finding, and hence a really complex video to explain so many different things, is that technology is moving faster than we're kind of keeping up with it. And the implications are huge. There's so much there, but what it means is for us, what's so interesting is, much like in the past where we've navigated some fairly complex digital things to get to great films or commercials or music videos or content, now we're managing to navigate that into areas that are outside of the screen. So installation-based, VR, augmented reality, working with AI, all of that. It's hugely interesting.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I definitely feel like we could carry on talking for hours, but people would start to eat their own stomach linings. So I think we better stop there. But I'd like to firstly thank my panel who have made my session very interesting. Thank you so much. And if we have whetted your appetite, there is more. I wanted to bring to your attention that at the bottom of the stairs there is a Magic and Machines section where we'll be showcasing some of the work that you've seen here today, both at lunchtime but also at the end of the day. The Mill are going to bring in some of the cool things that they're doing, they're playing with. Please bring in the Star Wars game so you get to actually hold a lightsaber and fight a droid. I've done it, it's brilliant. So you can test for yourself the power of what's available and find out how it might work for you and your brands and your businesses. I mean, I've said this before, I believe that the possibilities of AR and VR will be huge for advertisers, creatives, media planners, UX designers, content creators, whilst emerging AI technologies will really add new dimensions to analysis and marketing evaluation. And it's up to all of us who work in advertising to turn these into the new tools of our trade and to use them to enhance our creative output, to make it even more magical and relevant and appealing, so that it really works to deliver long-term business results for brands. The machines, I believe, will be our new colleagues and will be smarter, faster, and importantly, more effective because of them. Together with the machines, we can make the magic that matters to deliver the numbers that matter. Thank you very much.